What if I told you the money in your wallet isn't real? What if the very system we use to measure value, store wealth, and define power was built on illusion, manipulation, and control?
This is the story of fiat money, a currency backed by nothing but trust and controlled by those who never asked for your permission. But it wasn't always this way. And once you see how it happened, you'll never look at money the same way again. Part 1. What is fiat money? Let's start with the basics. Fiat money is currency that has no intrinsic value. It's not backed by gold, silver, oil, or any tangible asset. It has value only because a government says it does, and people agree to use it. The word fiat comes from Latin meaning let it be done or by decree. In other words, this paper is money because we say so. Almost every currency in the world today, from the US dollar to the euro, yen, and pound, is fiat. But for most of human history, money wasn't like this. Part 2. The age of real money. For thousands of years, civilizations used hard money, currencies backed by physical assets. The ancient Egyptians used grain and gold. The Romans used silver denarii. China minted bronze and copper coins 2,000 years ago. In Europe, gold coins remained the standard of value for centuries. Why? Because these items were scarce, durable, and couldn't be easily manipulated. You couldn't just print gold. You had to earn it, mine it, or trade something valuable for it. Money had a real cost, and so did inflation. If a ruler debased the currency, people noticed fast. Part 3. The rise of paper. It was the Chinese who first introduced paper money during the Song dynasty in the 11th century. But even then, it was backed by precious metals held in reserve. Europe followed much later. By the 1600s, banknotes were issued by institutions like the Bank of England, promising the bearer could redeem them for gold or silver. These were promises, not fiat. A British pound used to represent a literal pound of sterling silver. Even the US dollar was once backed by gold, and later silver. For centuries, currencies were pegged to a physical standard. You couldn't just print more without consequences. Until they did. Part 4. The fiat switch. Let's jump to the 20th century, a turning point in monetary history. After World War II, global leaders gathered in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire in 1944. They created a new global monetary system. The US dollar would be backed by gold at $35 AZ. All other currencies would be pegged to the dollar. It was a system built on trust, but still anchored to gold. That trust died on August 15, 1971. That day, President Richard Nixon announced the US would suspend the dollar's convertibility to gold. Translation? The dollar was no longer backed by anything. The Bretton Woods system collapsed. The world officially entered a fiat era. And from that moment on, governments could print money with no hard limit. Part 5. The consequences of fiat. Since 1901, global debt has skyrocketed. The US national debt alone has grown from $398 billion to over $34 trillion. That's not a coincidence. Fiat money allows governments to spend now, pay later, or never. It allows central banks to manipulate interest rates, print trillions, and bail out financial institutions without ever asking voters for permission. And the cost? The value of your money declines slowly over time. Prices rise, wages stagnate, asset prices explode, benefiting the wealthy and punishing the poor. This is inflation by design. Fiat is the perfect system for quiet wealth transfer. Part 6. Who benefits from fiat? The winners in a fiat world are those closest to the money printer. Governments get to spend freely. Big banks get bailouts and near-zero interest loans. Corporations borrow cheap to buy back stocks. The ultra-wealthy invest in assets that inflate faster than the currency. Meanwhile, the average person sees savings lose purchasing power. Rent and housing prices outpace income. Retirement goals drift further away. The result? A world where the harder you work, the further you fall behind, unless you're plugged into the system. Part 7. The illusion of value. Ask yourself, what gives a fiat dollar value? There's no gold behind it, no silver, just confidence. And what happens when confidence breaks? History shows us. Germany's Weimar Republic, 1920s. Hyperinflation wiped out middle-class wealth. Zimbabwe, 2000s. Trillions printed, breadlines formed. Venezuela, 2010s. Fiat collapse sparked total economic meltdown. Fiat works until it doesn't. And once trust is gone, it doesn't come back. Part 8. Alternatives to fiat. In response, people are turning to alternative stores of value. Gold, the ancient hedge against currency collapse. Silver, real, tangible, limited. Bitcoin, the digital, decentralized answer to fiat tyranny. Land, commodities, and scarce resources, real value in a world of fake promises. The shift has already begun. Central banks are buying record amounts of gold. Young investors are moving into crypto. Nations are discussing commodity-backed trade systems, because deep down, everyone knows you can't print trust. Part 9. The coming reset. Every fiat system in history has failed. None have survived more than a few generations. Ours is now over 50 years old, stretched by debt, distorted by stimulus, and held together by faith, and very little else. Many economists now warn of a coming monetary reset. A new digital dollar, central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. Debt restructuring, global realignment of currency power, especially as BRICS nations move away from the dollar. Whether it's triggered by inflation, war, cyber attack, or market collapse, the next crisis could usher in a new system entirely. And fiat might finally meet its expiration date. Part 10. Final reflection. Most people never question where money comes from. They work for it, save it, spend it, but never stop to ask, what is this paper really worth? The truth is, fiat money is only as strong as your belief in it. And history shows that belief is fragile. So the next time you get paid, or swipe your card, or transfer a few digits from one screen to another, ask yourself, is this real value, or just a temporary illusion? Because the system won't warn you when it collapses. It will just reset. Stay awake, stay prepared, and don't trust paper more than you trust truth.